For some reason, I thought I could escape this set without building the cabbage merchant, but the people have spoken and they want it, so I'll build your cabbage merchant, but I'm going to make it disgusting. So stay tuned, we're going to get through how we can get an infinite amount of cabbages and kill our opponents with a bunch of food. But before we do that, click on that whatnot link, claim your free $15, get 10% off all of your Tolarian library proxies, and then let's get right into it. I'm now sponsored with Baron of Dice. This means you guys can get 5% off whenever you guys use the code DT4D or click the link in the description down below. I'm a huge fan of the awesome art on their deck boxes and just the way they look in general, and you can pair up those awesome deck boxes with high quality playmats that match those deck boxes. Thank you, Baron of Dice, for sponsoring this channel. First, let's read the Cabbage Merchant. This guy's a 3 CMC creature, mono green, so 2 generic, 1 green. Whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, we get to generate a food token, and then whenever a creature does combat damage to us, we have to sacrifice a food token, and then tap 2 untapped food you control to add 1 mana. So we're adding mana, but we do have to sacrifice our food if people hit us, but we're going to avenge those cabbages today. This is a deck that's going to kind of Pelifort us, and we have a lot of ways to just prevent damage from happening to us by generating creatures. We also have a lot of ways to generate creatures whenever we're generating those food tokens, and then last but not least, we have a way to abuse the food tokens and generate a ton of them, enough to actually draw our entire library and even cast our entire library at the same time. But we're going to start it off by talking about the most broken part about this deck, because that's what's got me most excited. It involves a card called Second Harvest. This seems like very good in the deck, but it's a lot better than it initially seems. This is a 4 CMC instant that says for each token you can create a token that's a copy of that permanent. So basically you double all of your food, but what's really cool about this is you double all of your other tokens instead. So if we have a token copy of Eternal Witness on the battlefield, this is a card that says whenever it enters the battlefield we can return target card from our graveyard to our hand. We can return Second Harvest back to our hand. That means if we have 8 food tokens, we can tap 8 food tokens to generate 4 mana to cast Second Harvest a second time, and from there we're going to get 8 more food tokens, and you can kind of see where you get exponentially more food tokens as long as you have a way to return Second Harvest to your hand after it resolves. Timeless Witness notably makes this a lot easier because we don't have to go through the hoops of finding a way to create a token copy of Eternal Witness. We can just eternalize Timeless Witness from the graveyard. We now get a token copy of it, and it's going to allow us to do the same thing Eternal Witness does: return a card from our graveyard to our hand. So now even with Second Harvest in our graveyard, we can eternalize Timeless Witness, get Second Harvest back, cast Second Harvest, and then go through generating an infinite amount of food. And what's really cool about this combo as well is you're also generating an infinite amount of Timeless Witness ETBs, and you're getting increasingly more, right? The first one's 1 ETB, and then you get 2 ETBs, and then you get 4 ETBs. So you can actually just return every single card from your graveyard to your hand while you're generating an infinite amount of these food tokens, and that's where this strategy can get absolutely absurd. I did put a decent amount of ways to generate token copies of our creatures. That way we can take this win con to the absolute next level. Springheart Nantuko, land enters the battlefield, we pay 2, we get to generate a token copy of whatever it's enchanting. First we want Eternal Witness, but there's other cards in the deck that allow us to draw our entire library with this combo, so we're going to talk about those as well. And Infinite Mill also kind of draws your entire library, since remember, we do have Eternal Witness or Timeless Witness entering the battlefield each time, returning increasingly more cards from our graveyard to our hand. So anything that mills on ETB can put every single card into your hand this way as well. We have Dino DNA. This is a 1 CMC artifact that says we can exile target creature card from our graveyard, activate only as a sorcery, and then for 6 mana we can create a token that's a copy of creature card exiled with Dino DNA, except it's a 6/6 green dinosaur creature with trample, activate that only as a sorcery. So that's another way we can get a 6/6 token copy of an Eternal Witness. Dollhouse of Horrors also works very good here. This is a 5 CMC artifact. We can pay 1 to exile target creature card from a graveyard and create a token that's a copy of that exiled card, except it's a 0/0 construct artifact and has this creature gets +1/+1 for each construct on the battlefield. So that's going to be another way we can get a massive board state. Bramble Sovereign's really cool here. It says whenever another non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, you can pay 2. If you do, create a token that's a copy of that creature. So again, we cast Eternal Witness, pay an extra 2, and boom, now we have an Eternal Witness copy. And once you have an Eternal Witness copy, 8 food on the battlefield, and Second Harvest, you can basically draw your entire deck. Not okay, but definitely a fun way to break the Cabbage Merchant. So that's exactly what you guys asked me to do. So that's exactly what I am going to do. After we've done the broken thing, how are we winning the game? One of my favorite ways is actually using Summon Behemoth. This is a 9 CMC Saga Dragon that says destroy up to 1 target non-land permanents, and that's going to be its chapter 1 and 2. Its chapter 3 is draw 2 cards, and then its chapter 4 is this creature deals damage equal to the total mana value of other permanents you control to each opponent. So what we're trying to do here is get a token copy of Summon Behemoth, get a ton of them on the battlefield, and then we're able to use Canker Bloom to proliferate a ton, and when we proliferate enough, we can go ahead and set all of their triggers off at once, and that's going to allow us to deal enough damage to our opponents to outright win the game. That's the way we can do it without combat damage. Another way, we can simply just do Concordant Crossroads stuff, cast it, give all of our creatures haste, then we have Blossoming Bog Beast that allows us to give all of our creatures +X until end of turn, where X is the amount of life we gained, and since we do have infinite mana, we kind of have infinite life, so we can give our creatures a massive buff. There's no shortage of ways to get there once you draw your entire library, and you know, we're doing that with the Cabbage Merchant here with the second Harvest combo. But it was important for me to have a way to win the game without just going infinite, and there is a decent amount of synergy here that does just break this commander. Displaced Dinosaur says as a historic permanent enters the battlefield under your control, it becomes a 7/7 dinosaur creature in addition to its other types. So now every time a food enters the battlefield, it's just going to be a 7/7 dinosaur instead. So that's going to be a very easy way to end out the game, especially with all of the other historic permanents we have on the battlefield. Fagrin Marauder says whenever an artifact is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, you gain 5 life. That with Blossoming Bog Beast is not okay, because you can sacrifice 2 food. That's going to get you 6 life from the food. It's going to get you 10 life from the Marauder, and then whenever you attack with Blossoming Bog Beast, you gain an additional 2, so you can give your entire board state +18/18 and trample. That's going to be an easy way to end out the game as well. There's no shortage of broken things to do here. You also have Knights of Sweet's Revenge. This is an enchantment that allows you to tap your food for 1 mana, so instead of having to tap 2 food, you can tap 1, which is very useful. It essentially doubles your food mana, if you will, and then you can pay 7 to sacrifice Knights of Sweet's Revenge, and creatures you control get +X until end of turn, where X is the number of foods you control. Now, it doesn't give trample, but it is still just very good in this deck, right? I also did want to talk about Plane-Wide Celebration. This is a 7 CMC sorcery that says choose one. You may choose the same mode more than once. You get to create a 2/2 citizen creature token. You can return target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. You can proliferate, and you can gain 4 life. And again, you get to choose 4 of these, and you can choose the same one more than once. So this is another way you can proliferate on the Summon Behemoth to end the game, or you can just return permanent cards to your hand. It's just a very flexible card that's going to do a lot in the deck. A couple of other just pretty busted cards in the deck are Academy Manufacturer. This means whenever we generate a food token, we're going to generate a food, a treasure, and a clue. So now you're getting card advantage and even more ramp for every food token you create. Parallel Lives is going to double up on all of our tokens, so now you're doubling up on the food, essentially making it to where every food is able to tap for 1 mana because you're generating double. I know that's a weird way to say it, but essentially that's what's happening there. Paragon Took, also insane. It says if 1 or more tokens would be created under your control, one of those tokens plus an additional food token is created instead. This guy generates an insane amount of food, and he also has an ability to sacrifice 3 food to draw a card. We also need to protect our food because our opponents are going to be attacking us and trying to make us sacrifice our food, and that is not okay, and that makes the Cabbage Merchant sad, which is also not okay, so we need to prevent that. Stride Hanger Automaton. This is a 3 CMC artifact that says Thopters you control get +1/+1, and if 1 or more tokens would be created under your control, those tokens plus an additional 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying are created instead. So now for every single food we generate, we also get to generate a Thopter that's flying and can protect our food. Same with Quina. This is another way to generate a token whenever a food is generated. We also have Gorman's Talent. This is a 1 CMC enchantment that says during your turn, artifacts you control are food in addition to their other types. Then you can level it up, and it says whenever you gain life for the first time each turn, you get to create a 3/3 green raccoon creature token. And then its last level, whenever you gain life for the first time each turn, you get to put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. So what's very important about this is you can trigger this on everybody's turn. So you can trigger on this guy's turn, that guy, and then our turn. turn, so you can generate a total of 4 3/3 raccoons per rotation as long as you're sacrificing your food. And then additionally, that's putting a total of 4 1/1 counters on your entire board state every rotation as well. Very strong with this food token strategy. Galadrin Ambush. Both of these say create X green elf warrior creature tokens, where X is the number of attacking creatures. Prevent all combat damage that would be dealt this turn by non-elf creatures. And then Arachnogenesis says create X 1/2 green spider creature tokens with reach, where X is the number of creatures attacking you. Prevent all combat damage that would be dealt to non-spider creature tokens. So essentially, even if someone attacks you with infinite 1/1s, you can cast Arachnogenesis or this other card to basically generate an equal board state, kill their entire board state, and you're able to keep your board state because damage isn't going to be prevented to them. I did also want to mention there is a very heavy mill strategy to this deck. We're on a ton of ways to return cards from our graveyard to our library, and I'm going to be honest, in mono green, it's a lot easier to just mill cards and then be able to bring those cards back to your hand than just drawing cards. So you're getting a ton of card selection here instead of a ton of card advantage, but that's not even a bad thing because you're going to be able to mill at such an insane rate in mono green that you are going to be able to have an insane amount of cards to select from. So you should have a wide variety of cards to choose from in your graveyard, and you are effectively able to turn your graveyard into your hand in mono green. One of the best mill cards in the deck is Grinding Station. This is a 2 CMC artifact that says sacrifice an artifact, target player puts the top 3 cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard. But what absolutely breaks this card is it says whenever an artifact comes into play, you get to untap Grinding Station. So imagine a card that says sacrifice an artifact, draw 3 cards. That's essentially what this card is in this deck, and it's absolutely broken. Sarenth Steelkeeper is also pretty good. You actually don't have to sacrifice the artifacts for this one, so that's what makes it a little bit, maybe not better, but just different and still good. It's a creature that says whenever an artifact enters the battlefield under your control, look at the top card of your library. If it's a land card, you may put it into your hand. If you don't put that card into your hand, you put it into the graveyard. So essentially, you mill all non-land cards whenever an artifact enters the battlefield, and we have a ton of artifacts entering the battlefield in this deck. Shigeki is one of my favorite. He always returns himself back to the hand, so you cast him, you can return him back to the hand, you mill 4 cards, put a land card from among them onto the battlefield, and then he does have that channel ability that allows you to return your key pieces from your graveyard to your hand. He kind of just does everything in a mono green mill strategy, and I'm in love with him. Summon Titan is a 5 CMC creature. He mills 5 cards whenever he enters the battlefield, and then his second chapter is return all land cards from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped, and then his last chapter is until end of turn, another target creature you control gains trample and gets +X until end of turn, where X is the number of lands you control. Basically, he's just a solid way to mill, and he returns a ton of lands from our graveyard to the battlefield. We also have Aftermath Analyst. What's very notable about these creature cards that I'm talking about that enter the battlefield and mill you, they're going to be very powerful whenever we pair them with our second harvest combo, because now every time that creature's entering, we're also milling progressively more and more of our library, and we're able to return more and more cards from our graveyard to our hand with our Eternal Witness effects. So you can basically throw your entire library into your graveyard by using the Aftermath Analysis tokens paired with your Elemental Bond tokens and all the Cabbages tokens we're creating with the second harvest combo. Radiant Lotus also just seemed like a no-brainer in this deck. It's a 6 CMC artifact that says we can sacrifice 1 or more artifacts, choose a color, target player adds 3 mana of the chosen color for each artifact sacrificed this way. Sacrifice 3 food, add 9 mana to your mana pool. Absolutely insane. Krark Clan Ironworks is also going to be in this deck. Kind of does something very similar. Sacrifice an artifact, you get 2 generic mana. Now, I didn't do this, but if you guys wanted to upgrade this deck a little bit, toss in Seedborn Muse, toss in the One Ring, and toss in Unwinding Clock. This is going to allow you to untap all of your foods during all of your opponent's turns, and then the One Ring is going to draw you increasingly more cards. Seedborn Muse is going to allow you to tap those foods for mana to get additional value out of them. You might even throw in Flash Enablers if you're going with this strategy, and same with Unwinding Clock. You untap all your foods. With that being said, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the deck tech. If you guys have any questions on the deck list, feel free to ask about them in the comment section down below, and I will try to answer as much of them as possible. With that being said, guys, I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.